Good evening, everyone. Welcome to a regular meeting of the Programs and Services Committee. It is Wednesday, October 8th. We are being audio and video recorded. Present at the start of the meeting, we have me, I'm Josh Krinsman, Councilor at Large from Ward 4, Chair of the Programs and Services Committee. We have the Vice Chair of the Committee, Councilor Bill Humphrey from Ward 5. We have Councilor John Oliver from Ward 1, and we have Councilor Stephen Farrell from Ward 8. If we are joined by other councilors, I will mention it when they join us. With that, I think we will get started. We have a bunch of items tonight. So the first item is item 283-25. This is the appointment of Eric Hillman to the Council on Aging. Let me quickly say this for all of our appointees tonight. The standard process that we go through here, we've all, I would assume, read through the resumes, read through the materials that you submitted. What I do is I give the candidate an opportunity to introduce themselves. You know, you don't need to speak at length, 1 minute, 2 minutes, just say why it is that you're interested in this position. Then I'll open it up to councilors for questions, and then the committee will move to a vote. And I'll explain what happens from there when we get there, but that's largely the process, and that'll be the process for everyone. I would note that we are joined by I get the title wrong, I apologize, Director of Senior Services, Mignon Murray. Welcome. I assume you're here to just sort of check in on the Council on Aging appointments?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining us. We have also been joined by Councilor Alan Lobovitz, Councilor at Large from Ward 6 and a member of the committee. So with all of that, Mr. Hillman, do you want to tell us why it is that you are interested in serving on the Council on Aging?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. So what I wrote in the application is I'm getting close to retirement, and I'm thinking about what it is that I could do to continue to add value to the community. And I saw Mignon's email about Council on Aging, and thought this would be a great opportunity to apply my skills, experience, abilities, approach to things to add value and help the community have an effective program for elderly adults. Just very quickly about me, I spent a number of decades in the private sector, and for the past decade or so, I've been consulting for the state of Mass, the Health and Human Services Department, mostly in matters of finance and computing, but I know something about the programs and their elder affairs group.
Well, great. Thank you. I'll note that we've also been joined by Councilor Lyle Baker, Councilor from Ward 7 and a member of the committee. Mr. Hillman, it looked like, if I recall correctly, your education was from two different educational institutions, UPenn and Harvard. I feel like I have heard of those. So if anyone else has questions about what those institutions are, just raise them, but I'm pretty sure I know them. Councilors, any questions for Mr. Hillman? Okay, fantastic. I'm going to move approval because I believe you're a resident of Ward 3, and I believe our Ward 3 member is not on with us tonight. Usually there's sort of a tradition of the councilor who represents the ward from which the candidate comes of moving approval. So I'm going to move approval, and I'll open that up for any discussion. Any discussion on that motion from my fellow councilors?
No, sir. Oh, I see a hand.
With that, again, I want to thank you, Mr. Hillman, for your willingness to serve in this capacity. Really do appreciate it. Councilor Farrell from the City Council chamber. Councilor Farrell.
Thank you very much. Yes, someday I will learn to read completely the notices about these meetings. It's wonderful, wonderful to be in the City Council chamber here by myself. It's the most thoughtful time I've ever been here. Thank you, Mr. Hillman, for your interest in serving. I'm curious, number one, just how you heard about this position and well, one, I'm interested to hear what you heard about it.
Well, there's what I heard and how I heard. How I heard was an email from Ms. Murray. I'm on the mailing list for the OAS services group. And what I heard is just what it says on the web about the mission and purpose of the group. And I attended the meeting last week with Joan Belle Isle as the chairman, talking about how the various members should focus on a particular issue and become the city's expert in that issue.
Okay, thank you. The reason I asked the question is that we have heard sometimes on some commissions how hard it is to find people to volunteer to be here. And we're very glad that this commission is being so well set up this evening with all of you who are volunteering to be here. So that was of interest to me because I'm hoping that the city, we will begin to reach out more and try to find more volunteers to help it. I'm very excited about your experience with budget oversight and the effective use of budgets. We hope you'll continue to do that. I am not interested in cutting any budgets, but if there are ways that we can say maybe we can do something better by switching monies around, I hope you will look at that and all of the other expertise that you bring to this thing. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Glad to have the opportunity to do it.
All right. So again, Councillor Krinsman has moved approval. Just an astute observation from Councillor Krinsman and a brilliant motion, I might say. But Councillor Krinsman has moved approval. Seeing no further discussion on that, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. So, Mr. Hillman, what happens now is this item is approved. It goes to the full city council, which will be on the agenda at the next full city council meeting, which I think is a week and a half from today, if I'm not mistaken. You don't need to be there. Anticipation is that everything will go smoothly and city council will approve it without debate, without even discussing it. So that's the process. Again, tonight, no need for you to stick around. We'd love to have you. You're welcome to be here all night, but we're not offended if you close your laptop and go about your business. We know people have busy lives. Okay. Thank you. The next item. Oh, I see we've been joined by Councillor Julia Malachy, Councillor from Ward 3. Welcome, Councillor Malachy. Next item is item 285-25. This is the appointment of John Pelletier. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Please correct me. To the Council on Aging. Mr. Pelletier, please tell us again why it is that you are interested in serving on the Council on Aging.
Thank you, Councillor. Pelletier is fine. Pelletier is the more traditional Americanized version, right? John Pelletier, 103 Madison Ave, Newtonville. I am literally within spitting distance of the new senior center. And I was actually going back in my emails. I was originally requested to be part of the advisory board to the Council on Aging, because remember there was two groups if you've been around long enough, back in 2017. So I served on the advisory group for many years, with the focus being transportation. Obviously I am younger. I think I'm the youngest member on there at the time. I think I still am. My day job is at Harvard. I think you've heard of them, in our transportation department. I also serve on the transportation advisory group here for the city. I'm board member of Bike Newton as well. And looking my history in my background working with my parents, my dad passed from Parkinson's, so he wasn't able to drive for many of his last years. My mom still drives and is fine, but she doesn't like to do long distances. We moved her to a new house out in Northampton, Mass. So going through that process of what does aging mean? What does aging in place mean? What does place mean? We built her a house that was going to be single level. For her, we have an ADU above it. So if she needs a home health aid at some later point, she can have that. Thinking about how folks can stay in their community and then how they get around. I mean, that's been my focus. That's been my focus with my family internally, as well. And then just transportation in my day job. So that's, I believe it's a 1-year appointment for me. And I think that works well. Obviously I've been serving in some form for many years, and working with the team, really excited for the new center opening. One of the elements, transportation, is going to be a big one. Obviously, parking keeps coming up, but how is GoGo Newton, then the transition of that program, working with the new facility? What are the types of training we can do for mobility options for our older residents to get here, whether it's through GoGo, whether it's through MBTA, whether it's through some other form. So I'm excited to have to work with Mignon's team, and I know that's expanding, so they're going to be able to provide more staff support. And then working with the the new council on what we can assist with and make hopefully their lives a little bit easier when they're working with new residents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pelletier. Again, following the process, let me see if there are any counselors who have questions for Mr. Pelletier or comments to make as we move forward on this nomination. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Mr. Pelletier, for your service. We very much appreciate it. So can you single out any particular issues in transportation? I mean, I live in Ward 8, which is the southern part of the city. Do you see a lot of seniors from that area coming to use? Do you believe that they will be coming to use the center? Are there transportation issues that you think we can help them with?
Yes, and I think one of the things of, obviously there was a discussion, do we move the center to Newton Center? Do we, do we keep it where it is? Obviously that was a long discussion over many years. I think being in Newtonville, it probably tends to lend itself to be more, not necessarily accessible, maybe feels more accessible to the north side, let's say north of Route 9 folks. However, I think with the new center, with the opportunities that it's going to be, I think there is going to be more of an opportunity to outreach for folks on the more southern side of the town. I would say it's, there's a lot less public transportation options if we're using that option there, right? Once you get past Newton Center going south, and that's a challenge. I mean, that's what GoGo is trying to solve. That's what Numo was trying to solve. But if you look at the map, and you may have, of where older residents are in Newton, they're everywhere, right? They're not concentrated in one area. They're not concentrated in a housing development here or there. And Mignon probably has the data and the stats from, where folks are accessing the center currently at the Hyde, where they may have come from in the past. I think it will be valuable for metrics to understand where our folks are coming from, and how easy or not easy it is to access. A lot of older folks, my mom included, especially to get up there, have trouble driving at night. Is something at the center at night going to be accessible to somebody that's literally going to be driving 15-20 minutes from the far south part of Newton to the center? I don't know. That's going to be something that's going to be valuable as we look at how is this serving all of our population, and what are the challenges for folks to get to the center if that's what they desire, or how can they interact in other ways? I know one of the things that's come up is around all of the or many of the rooms that are being built have full Zoom interface, have that virtual option, and I know that's been very successful with the value of in-person as well. So there's certainly opportunities for folks that don't feel comfortable coming out to be able to attend, and I think that's going to be some valuable data points from Mignon and the team as we go forward.
Thank you for that. Just quickly, in areas that are more distant, I'm very interested in all of the work about the Council on Aging. Any thoughts you might have about helping seniors get more involved in the schools? We've heard a lot from Superintendent Nolan about the importance of having mentors be available to students after school. And I would like to ask that question of other members of the Council on Aging also, please. But just any quick thoughts on that?
So, I previously worked before Harvard, worked for Mayor, now Lieutenant Governor Driscoll up in Salem, and worked with our Council on Aging up there, and starting a lot of the programs. One of the things that's come up, and I think has been a real success in other places, has been locating a senior center of some kind within or with a school development. I think we're pretty close here in Newton, obviously with Newton North. I know there's some legal things that would have to be worked out, is my understanding there. I don't think there's a lack of desire. It is, what's available, where have the boundaries for whatever legal access. Do the seniors have to go through this full CORI program? What is that process going to be? If something's easy and there's a desire, I think we can overcome it. I think Mignon has done, and the previous directors before her have had some limited success. I think with a new space, I think with the opportunity being so close to Newton North at the very least, there's going to be a lot more opportunity working with seniors, as it were.
Thank you very much. I hope the council will look at those requirements to get involved and then just become more active in promoting that as a possibility for seniors, whether it's at the center or more locally in the neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell. Any other comments or questions from councilors? All right, I'm going to move approval of Mr. Pelletier's nomination. Any other discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, that was unanimous, right? I think there was a delay. Okay. Mr. Pelletier, again, same thing. It'll go to the full council. You don't need to be there. You also don't need to stick around tonight, but you are more than welcome to. I noted that Mr. Hillman has felt guilty and felt the need to stick around too, so you're welcome to join him.
I'll probably turn my camera off. Thanks, folks.
No worries. Like I said, we understand people have busy
You'll
lives.
get to see my cat for the rest of the evening.
Oh,
All right. The next item on our agenda is item 286-25, the appointment of Robert Pearson to the Council on Aging. Mr. Pearson, you now have two examples of how this works. I turn it over to you. Please tell us why it is that you are interested in serving in the Council on Aging.
Thank you, Counselor. Can everybody hear me through
Yes.
these piddly little headphones?
Yep, loud
Okay.
and clear.
Okay. Well, like John, I was brought on for the advisory group. This was back in 2019 by Jane Colino. And we have clearly, there were things going on then, but there always was this anticipation of what is coming to fruition right now. But within that time, I was also involved with being on the interview committee for the Council on Aging director and recommending Mignon as the director to the mayor. In terms of my work life, most of, I would say over the past 30 years, I've been involved with older adults and disabled adults in varying capacities. And so much of, after I've left the work, has still been involved with many of these older adults. I kind of latch onto them and we become friends. And I think I'm drawn to older adults a lot because from my family of origin, we had a very small family and we lost a lot of relatives back in Europe. And there's something for me about connection to older adults that's very meaningful. My work over the past 10 and a half years, I just retired this past February, but over the past 10 and a half years, I was the director of the Norfolk County Retired Senior Volunteer Program and had an AmeriCorps Senior Grant. I was involved with about 30 councils on aging within Norfolk County. And my role was really placing older adults into volunteer positions, recognizing them for their work. and I just got out right before the grants were being taken away. It was just a coincidence, but we're hoping that the programs are still going to continue, but AmeriCorps Seniors is somewhat threatened right now. In terms of my current work on the Council on Aging, I have been part of the Isolation Task Force, and one project I keep bringing up and hoping we're going to eventually be able to offer to seniors who are living alone, it's a telephone reassurance program called Are You OK? So an electronic offering that would really have the individual's phones ringing, and at the same time each day, if they don't pick up in the first 10, 15 minutes, it'll be offered again and again. And if they don't pick up, then a family member or the police will go and check. This program saves lives. It's offered in other communities, and down the line, I'm hoping that this can be instituted. Let's see, I have a current Meals on Wheels route. I'm increasing my involvement with the Springwell, so I feel good being involved with older adults, and I'm going to be involved with the opening of the Cooper Center in offering a retirement program, helping people find their way who are newly retired or maybe retired for a while. I'll stop there if you have questions.
Fantastic, thank you. Appreciate it. Let me see if there are any questions from Councilor Farrell or any other councilors.
Yes.
Councilor
Hi.
Farrell.
Thank you very much again. And thank you, Mr. Pearson, for continuing your service to the city.
You're welcome.
I'd like to follow up on, and I noticed that Dr. Nolan from the school department is with us. This notion of engaging seniors with students and providing mentorships or just helping them with homework and so forth. Have you done any organizing around this sort of activity in your AmeriCorps work or any other? And do you have any sense about its usefulness in, for the seniors who get involved?
Thank you for your question. The only direct involvement that I've had have been with seniors offering younger immigrants English as a second language tutoring, in person or over the internet. Secondly, I'm exploring, it's more of an exchange program for students that want to learn English that are outside the country, that want to latch up with seniors in Newton. This is actually in Massachusetts, but I'm targeting Newton, to basically help these college-age students abroad learn English. So those are the only experiences I've had in terms of opportunities for seniors to be involved in the Newton schools. I expect there are plenty of that there should be opportunities. Intergenerational learning and opportunity is a great thing. I don't know how practical it is within all of the processes that go on, and certainly with Mignon and the center getting started with such a new operation, I would think it would take time before that could be considered.
Thank you. I've just heard that I believe Dr. Nolan talks about a very successful program at the Boys and Girls Clubs, I think is what she meant, where seniors meet with kids after school, and it's been incredibly successful and beneficial on both sides. So thank you very much.
I imagine so. Thank you.
All right, you all set, Councilor Farrell?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Maliki.
Thank you. No questions. I think your interests are great, and I'm happy to move this when we're ready.
Councilor Maliki has moved approval. Any discussion on Councilor Maliki's motion? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, Mr. Pearson, same deal. This will come before the full council at the next council meeting. Again, I think it's in about a week and a half. No need to be there. I would expect no concerns and no issues at that time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night. And again, you're welcome to stay with us. Our next item is item 289-25, the appointment of Judith Gordon to the Council on Aging. Excuse me. I think, at least based on your square, you go by Judy, but Ms. Gordon, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us why it is that you're interested in serving on the Council on Aging. It happened for a second, and it went back on mute.
Sorry. Thank you
Sure.
for inviting me. It wasn't allowing me to unmute before. It was only allowing Councillor Krinsman to unmute. My name is Judy Gordon. I'm a recent retiree from Boston College. I'm interested, and I'll tell you a bit more about that background in a minute. I'm interested in the Center for Aging because I started using their programs pretty extensively, primarily around the areas of learning. So I attend the French Conversation Group, I attend other conversation groups, and I'm very much interested in contributing in terms of my knowledge of education. I recently retired, as I said, as a professor of management from Boston College. I also was a department chairperson, and I also was the associate dean in the Carroll School of Management for Teaching and Learning. I'm particularly interested in older workers. I've done research in that area, and I'm interested particularly in recent retirees, people who, like me, were quite concerned about retiring and didn't know what would be available to them. And I've learned that Newton is remarkable. My involvement now is because I have a lot more time available to me. When I was younger, I was extensively involved in the schools. When my children were in the schools, they're all graduates of Newton schools. And I also did some work for the schools on behalf of Boston College a number of years ago. I think this is a wonderful opportunity with the new center coming on board to offer lots of different possibilities, lots of different programs, and I'm hoping that I can be very helpful to the staff in making suggestions and offering perspectives.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that introduction. Councilors, any questions for Ms. Gordon? Councilor Farrell.
At the risk of monopolizing these conversations, thank you very much, Ms. Gordon, for your willingness to serve. It's the same general question. While there will be the new Cooper Center, part of this interest that I have heard expressed is getting some seniors, maybe even recently retired people such as yourself, out even in their local communities, at their local schools or other locations where they might be able to work with students. And thinking about that, maybe Mr. Pelletier can help us understand the safety of riding bicycles for seniors to get to these locations and help do that. But very interested in your thoughts about seniors working with students. Excuse my voice. Thank you.
I don't want to be so presumptuous as a new member of this group to make suggestions. However, I've spent almost 50 years working with students of college age and setting up mentoring programs for students, mentoring programs for faculty, and I think there's a tremendous potential for intergenerational mentoring. I also think there's the possibility for intergenerational learning. And if the center staff is really interested in that, I think I have a great deal that I could contribute in that area. I know college students really well, and I have a pretty good sense of younger children as well and what they're interested in. And I do think that seniors that there are many of us who like working with young people. And I think if the structure is provided, I think it would not be difficult to recruit seniors to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you. Councilor Baker.
So I want to just indicate my thanks to all of you who've come forward to take on this role, and just suggest that as part of your work, the whole question of advising people about retirement, staying in place. Newton at Home is a wonderful organization we have in the community. The Senior Center has its own resources, but I'm not retired yet myself, but so I'm not a very good candidate for this yet. But I think the whole process of providing information on community care facilities, all of those things really could benefit from some guidance from all of you in putting together a bit of a package for people who are, you've all indicated doing this sort of individually, but I think collectively there's a real opportunity here. So I hope you'll think about that.
Thank you, Councilor Baker. Councilor Humphrey, I think I know what you're going to do, and I like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna move approval.
Councilor Humphrey has moved approval of Ms. Gordon. Any discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay?
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent, it is unanimous. Congratulations, Ms. Gordon. Again, it'll go before the full council. Don't need to be there and you don't need to stay the rest of the night, but thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
The next item is item 248-25. This is the reappointment of Randall Johnson to the Parks and Recreation Commission. This came up on the 17th, and at that time, though I wasn't there, I believe that the committee held the item. This is a reappointment, so we don't normally have the candidates appear before us, but my understanding is that there was a request to have Mr. Johnson. I noticed that he is here tonight. He's been on the committee before. We don't necessarily need, excuse me, the commission before, so we don't necessarily need the introduction or why he's interested in serving, but I want to open it up to counselors who have questions. Are there any questions? Councilor Farrow.
Surprisingly, I'm coming out of my shell. I think I'm the person who asked whether we could speak with Mr. Johnson, in part because I think once a person has been on one of these commissions and has some experience, it would be very interesting to hear what that experience was and why, in fact, they would like to re-up and what they see as their potential to continue to move the agency forward. So I did have a chance to speak with Mr. Johnson, and I thank him very much for taking the time to do that. But again, just for us, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about your experience and what you see as the potential for growth over the coming term. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Johnson.
Well, thanks for having me here tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Those that don't know me, I'm a longtime resident of Newton, grew up in Newton, went to Franklin Elementary School, Warren Junior High, which no longer exists, and then Newton North. Parks and Rec is near and dear to my heart. Participated in a lot of programs when I was a kid, but I also worked for Park and Rec. I was a lifeguard in high school and college at the Gaff Pool and at Newton North, and proud to say that my son's been working at Crystal Lake for the last 5 summers as well too. But it's been really exciting to be part of the commission. This is my second reappointment. I believe I was first brought on in 2020. So some of the projects that we've, have been kind of top of mind that we've been working on was obviously the Gaff Pool, Albemarle, and then I'll call it the lightning rod topic of dog parks right now in some places where we're trying to put that in place. I'm very interested to see, what happens with Parks and Rec moving forward, obviously in the next 2 years, next few years. Obviously, we have been informed that there's going to be a change. Obviously, with the new mayor coming in, we've been informed that Nicole Banks would not be staying on as the commissioner. So looking forward to working with the new commissioner that comes in. And so it's been great so far. My only comment is I'm 57 and I'm one of the youngest people on this commission. And I've seen additional people over the last 3 or 4 years that have been brought on. Nothing wrong with it. Well, most of them are even older than myself. And I do feel like we need to do a better job in terms of attracting younger folks to come on board and participate, especially in Parks and Rec, because there's a lot of involvement with younger children and other folks as well too. And I think it would just be nice to have some additional perspective there also.
I would just like to say from some of our perspectives, you're quite a young man, Mr. Johnson. We're glad you're there, but do you have any thoughts about how we might reach out to younger people to get them engaged in some of this civic work? Non-paying, may I add, long hours?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic because I'm actually very involved with NAA basketball, which is youth basketball here in Newton. I'm actually the vice president of that. And one of the challenges that we've had is people that we've been bringing into the board recently that are younger, they all want to get paid. that's a hard thing for me to understand because this is volunteer work, and I can never repay Parks and Rec or Newton for everything that I had gained as a child growing up here and even as an adult. But I think a lot of it starts with, you know, I'm a great example of someone who worked for Parks and Rec, and I think those are people who you could lean on immediately when they graduate from college and they come back and they get engaged. But yeah, I think we don't do a lot of promoting of trying to get new people to the board, right? We have an opening in a specific ward, and then, you know, either someone is nominated or they go and they ask to be put to the board, but we have to be a little bit more proactive on it. And I don't think we do any of that right now. Specific ideas, obviously, there's a lot of different groups out there, and whether it's sport groups or other community groups, whether it's under forestry or something else. But I think, you know, obviously that's something that needs to be done. I don't think that really answers your question 100%. I don't have any strong ideas on how to make that happen, but definitely something I think I wouldn't mind being a champion of that on my upcoming term on the Parks and Rec Commission.
Well, thank you. I, for one, would be happy to work with you on that. And I certainly understand the notion of putting in lots of hours for no pay. Some of my other colleagues might feel the same way, but
Sure.
Thank you. I appreciate this and look forward to continuing conversations.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Councilor Farrell. Councilor Malky.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
One of which I asked some previous batch of nominees to this commission, and that is not this year because the current administration isn't interested, but next year under a different administration, would you be supportive of putting heat warning and chemical exposure warning labels or signs at our artificial turf fields?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't, as much as I know, I don't see any issues why that wouldn't be able to something that I wouldn't support. Absolutely.
Okay, because right now we have labels that protect the fields, but not labels that protect the people who use them. And another field-related issue, which has come to my attention from, there's a whole bunch of soccer playing dads in Ward 3 who are dismayed that there are these goals at McGrath Park that it might be an ownership issue, but they are sort of locked up and not available for public use. And is there a way that the city can sort of take control of these and make them available for public use when adults want to play soccer?
I'm not aware of that specific issue, but I have a question back for you. What have those guys done so far? Have they reached out to Parks and Rec? Who have they spoken to about their concern with this?
Yeah, they've corresponded with Nicole Banks,
and
I think it's an ownership of who paid for the goals or something like that.
Okay,
but it seems like it would make more sense. I'm just a civilian here on adults playing soccer, but make it something that the city could provide. It doesn't seem like an incredibly expensive item, and
it doesn't to me either.
Basically free the goals. It sounds like something that's too big for somebody to walk off and steal. So I don't know what the concern.
How would I do this? I'll make a commitment to you that I will ask that specific question at our next meeting.
Okay, a whole bunch of
I can reach back out to you and see what
soccer playing dads would be thrilled if that could be resolved.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you.
You got it.
It's seeing no other hands. I am happy to move approval of the reappointment. Any discussion on that motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you very
You've
much.
been through
everyone.
before, you know how it works. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is item 250-25, the reappointment of Marjorie Butler to the Newton Election Commission. I think like Mr. Johnson's reappointment, this came up on the 17th when I wasn't there. The committee held it, wanted Ms. Butler to be here in person. I note that she is here. With that, we'll take questions. Councilor Malky.
Thanks, and thanks, Ms. Butler. I know you've put in a lot of years on the commission. Basically, the reason I have a hang up here is what happened 4 years ago where the commission, you among them, signed off on the certifying the election results that were missing a ward and 2 precincts of Ward 2. And I would just love to understand how that happened, what's been done so that something like that never happens again. I know the print was small, but if the print is too small, get a larger scale print.
Well, thank you. Thank you for asking the question and inviting me here to answer it. That was at the end of a very long year of elections. And a number of people had left, including David Olson, who was the city clerk. And I always go to the vote at night, on the night of election. And I watched the numbers come in, and I saw exactly each time the police brought in the package of voting, the computer chips and all that, I watched as they came up. So I knew pretty clearly that the count had been done appropriately. We wait a number of days for the overseas ballots to come in, and for those last few ballots that may have come in so close to 8 o'clock to the drop box that they have to be hand counted. And there were only a handful of them. And so the person who input them incorrectly, but it also revealed a glitch in the software because it shouldn't have happened. When we actually were at the meeting was we were all in, if I remember correctly, we weren't having a real meeting, that we had a room. We were in the clerk's office. We saw when the when the papers were printed out, that there was something wrong with the papers. But then the clerk, or the acting clerk at the time, made a presentation of what happened to the maybe 20 ballots that had not been counted, and assured us that it had not changed any results, nor could that number have under any circumstances. So we signed the paper that had come, and it was missing. A piece had not printed out properly. And when it was loaded on to the website, people called and said that there were incorrect numbers filled in. And what had happened is when the person added the 25, it took out some of them in some wards. It took out the other number. So if they had 100 votes and they added 2, just the 2 was there. But on the result column, it stayed the same. So we quickly retracted it, had it printed out correctly, and discussed meeting with the software people and figuring out a way to stop it, which was ultimately done, and it should never happen again. The machines are now different as well. So it should never happen again. And we had made a mistake, and we're very apologetic that had happened, but we cured it without anyone being harmed, anyone, no improprieties.
So the technical problem with the software was fixed, but the backstop was, you looked at a piece of paper and signed it. I guess there were 3 signatures on it.
Yes.
And is the policy now to at least make sure all the wards and precincts are there?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
As I said, we thought it was a printing problem at the time,
Mm-hmm.
that we weren't seeing it. But as I said, I had the unofficial results, and they were only changed by 12. I think it didn't dawn on me that the system could allow that. And then once we found out the system could actually allow, when you added 1, it would take away something, we did act quickly. And it was spotted very quickly, and the correct certification was submitted very quickly.
So it sounds like there were actually two problems. There was the problem with the number substitution or the bumping of a set of numbers. But then was the losing 6 precincts worth of columns, was that separate from the small number of the 12 votes problem?
I'm not sure, because as I said, there was we had a presentation at that point by the clerk to tell us exactly what was added. And then when it was ultimately printed out correctly, that number, we could see the numbers were wrong.
Okay, well, thank you.
Afterwards though. But we had, as I said, we had the unofficial results, which there was I observed, as well as one of the Republican representatives. So we both had observed the election results as they came in on election night. And I usually do that in any case.
And did the totals, the totals over on the right-hand side, candidate lines, did they include or not include the columns that did not print?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this time. I don't remember. I mean, we sat down and we went through them, and we figured out what was correct, and spoke with the person who had done the inputting, and the acting city clerk, who was Chris Sullivan, and we went through them.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for the explanation.
You all set, Councilor Malachy?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Councilor Farrell?
Well, I'm not sure of the procedure here, Mr. Chair, but as a fellow member of Ward 8, I would like to move to accept this appointment.
Councilor Farrell has moved approval. Any discussion on that motion? All right. All those in favor of the reappointment of Margie Butler, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Councilor Malachy abstains, so I believe that is 6-0-1. Right, Katie? Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Butler. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. You, as you know, goes before the full council at the next council meeting.
Yes, and Councilor Malachy, if you need any more information, please let me know, and I'll go back and try to track down what you need. Thank you.
Thank you for serving anyway.
And Ms. Butler, you should know we did get at least a few emails in support of your reappointment. So you have some fans out there.
Thank you.
So thank you. All right, our next item is item 275-25. This is a request to set the salary for the city clerk / clerk of the council. I think Ms. P.T. O'Brien is joining us. I want to say that to sort of level set, and Ms. P.T. O'Brien, correct me if I say any of this correctly. We went through a process to search for a new clerk. You all remember we did the interviews, we approved the clerk, and just recently the full council approved our selection of Mr. Wilson as the clerk of the council. The next step, of course, was to set the salary. That we all understood that there was going to be a little bit of a process after the full council approved the appointment, where there was going to sort of be a contract negotiation. And as I think you all know, the city council actually sets the salary for the city clerk. It's the one salary of all the city employees that the city council actually sets by ordinance. So you probably all recall, but every so often we have to revisit that. There's sort of an effort to bring that in line with some other, department heads, but it's something that we regularly revisit. So I have asked Ms. P.T. O'Brien to prepare a letter. We don't have any written materials before us tonight, but I think hopefully she's going to share her screen and show us a letter, which we can then consider, which will be part of the written report, so that you can look at what the recommendations are, or at least what the results are of the conversation that Ms. P.T. O'Brien had with our chosen candidate, where those discussions ended up. And then if we approve the item, it's essentially an approval of that, our recommendation of that salary to the full city council Then the process would be for the full city council to approve that salary, at which time it would go into effect. For, I think, a start date, if I'm not mistaken, of the 27th, because I think the full council meeting is on the 20th. Is that, do I have those dates right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay,
thanks.
so first of all, any questions on the procedure? Folks understand where we're at and what's happening? Okay, okay, great. Ms. P.T. O'Brien, tell us, you spoke to Mr. Willison, our preferred candidate. How did it go?
It went very well. I typically would have had a little bit more time in between the council's vote and our meeting today, but that didn't end up the case. So after your meeting on Monday, I met with Mr. Willison late yesterday, and we went through a conversation about salary. We had already done some analysis based on his experience. We've done, a compensation review of this position prior to even posting it, as well as looking at salaries of other department heads for internal equity, all of that. I wasn't preparing to share my screen, but I always love to share my screen, so I'd be happy to do that. I did email, I'll do that right now. I did email this letter, which I commonly do when we go through this process with the council, to President Laredo, with a copy to Chair Krinsman and Vice President Kalis, with our
I think we're
salary.
looking at a Word document, which looks like it's notes to determine where to offer someone on the pay scale.
Oh, let me see. Oh, okay.
The
Well,
letter
that's
you want to
also
show.
helpful. Here, let me see. Let's see. Let's try this one. Here we go.
Yeah,
That
again, I'm sorry to ask you to share it or not prepare you for that, but I just think seeing it in writing is helpful so folks can
No, that's good,
understand.
that's good. So you'll receive a copy of this. The last time we did this, I had the opportunity to share it a little bit earlier, but we did just finish those discussions with Mr. Wilson yesterday. We actually had a nice opportunity as well to walk around City Hall. He was very interested in the chamber. He's very impressed with that space and looking forward to being in it. And we wrapped those details up today, so I was able to send this letter a little later than I would like, so I apologize that you're not seeing it, but we are recommending a starting salary of $146,479 annually, which would be effective on his start date. Mr. Willison is completing the term of our former city clerk, Carol Moore, and that 2-year term ends in December. So we're suggesting a rate for January 1st, 2025, which would be the start of that 2-year term at $150,906. In this letter, you'll see, the factors that we take in consideration. We take in consideration our posting range, which, we use often kind of round numbers for search purposes. It makes it a lot easier when people are searching for postings. That posting range for our non-union managerial scale equates to $135,971 to $146,479. Which is the steps on our compensation plan that equate to this posting range. Like I said, we did a study of the salaries for the position. We also looked at comparable positions within our organization, because we always try to maintain some equity. We take in consideration the duties and responsibilities or complexity of the position. And then we also obviously take in consideration the expectations and asks of the candidate, which really isn't listed here, but that is something we do engage in a conversation with the candidate about, and then his experience, education, and training as it relates to the position. So to that end, we're recommending, and we made that offer to him on a conditional basis as part of our typical process. That's obviously conditioned on your recommendation of this salary to go to the full council for approval on October 20th, and the final stages of our kind of onboarding process, which includes a Corey check and things like that. He completed his background check through our process. We did that in advance of final recommendations of candidates to programs and services, and passed that obviously with flying colors, as well as recommendations and verification of employment and experience, education, credentials, and things like that. So you will, I'm not sure, Chair Krinsman, how will you share this with them, or what will that be? But these are the numbers that we're suggesting you plug into your motion or vote today. So $146,479. effective on his start date, which we're estimating for October 27th, and 150,906 effective January 1st, 2026. And I started sharing some other details, but I have them available if you have any follow-up questions.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate all that information. Are there any questions for any members of the committee? Councilor Oliver.
Great, thank you, Chair. I guess I initially just have two questions. When was the last time that we adjusted the pay scale or range for this role?
Well, the
We-
position,
Well, sorry, we don't actually do a scale or a range for the role. What we do is we set by ordinance the salary of the city clerk. And so we usually do that every year, really. And what happens is we try to keep it in line, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's Schedule H, which is like the non-union Schedule H, whatever it is, rate, which is department heads, commissioners, things like that. And we usually try to keep the city clerk in line with those. And so sometimes those get, a cost of living adjustment. And so then we have to go back and revisit the ordinance to give the ordinance the cost of living adjustment, the actual number, the same cost of living adjustment. So we sort of do it every year. Do I have that right?
yes, I was hearing a different question. But if Councilor Oliver, you were asking when the council revisits the salary, Chair Krinsman is correct. You typically revisit that every year. And Chair Krinsman is correct in that we do try to match whatever the proposed or anticipated increase is for other like positions. And we have been 3% in at least since I've been here. So but then I was thinking your question, Councilor Oliver, was when we had looked at the pay in general, like how it compares internally or externally. I was going to answer that question because that's how I was hearing you ask it, but I can answer that one as well.
It was more the take that Councilor Krinsman had, but I appreciate. It seems to me like they're kind of a coordinated effort, right? The comparison with some of the other, department heads and so on and so forth, commissioners, etc. So that's fine. So if that's more of an annual process, and I'm just kind of blanking on when we looked at it last, from my own recollection, that's fine. Nobody's perfect, including my memory, that's for sure. But my other question is, and I don't recall the specific comments that were made in full council the other night, but I am curious how President, Vice President, President Laredo, Vice President Kalis, how they reacted to this letter. I'm assuming they've seen it.
No, I was only able to send it today because we concluded our negotiations with, but they're all aware of the numbers. So you're asking what President Laredo's response?
Correct.
I'm not very comfortable speaking for President Laredo, but he was involved in that conversation and I felt he felt very comfortable, but I'm sure he would be happy to share that too.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah, I'll also point out that the clerk of the salary of the clerk is always a joint referral. So it's here, it also goes before finance, and then it comes before the full city council. So certainly President Laredo and Vice President Kalis will have an opportunity to weigh in.
Understood. I appreciate that. I think we all know the comments that I'm referring to. It was from Councilor Gentile on Monday night. I needed a very specific request on this particular point. That's why I'm chasing it up a little bit. But I do appreciate it, and I think we'll probably hear more if there are any other comments at full council. But I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Oliver. Councilor Labovitz.
Yes, thank you. Maybe I misunderstood the letter that was shared, but it's a 2-year term. Is that correct?
It's a 2-year term, and the Councilor Moore's term expires at the end of this year. So initially to fill that vacancy, and then a recommended salary starting on January 1st for that subsequent 2-year term.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking, which is that salary is it will be this person's salary for the next 2 years, or would it be adjusted next year on a review? That's what I'm a little confused about.
So the the advice to us is to make a recommendation in two parts. One is a particular salary which starts on October 27th. It would run through December 31st. That's the 146,000 and change number. The second part of our recommendation would be that as of January 1st, 2026, the salary increase to a number that was, I think, 150,000 and change for the next 2 years. Having said that, we will probably come back around January or before January of 27 to revisit this in case there are cost of living increases at that time. So really, the clerk's salary kind of gets set on a year-to-year basis when we revisit it. So we're doing two of those at the moment. We would be doing the October to December and January 1st on.
I understand.
Correct.
Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Okay. I am happy to move approval then, as laid out by Ms. P.T. O'Brien in her letter with those numbers. Any discussion on that motion? I'm sorry, Councilor Labovitz, did you say something?
I didn't know if you needed a second on that.
No, don't need a second in committee, but appreciate it. Appreciate that you're always there for it. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain for now.
Okay. So that is 6 to 0 to 1, I believe, Ms. Holden. In support of the salaries as recommended by Ms. P.T. O'Brien to go forward.
And if I could, Mr. Chair, I just want to say thank you. I had a really wonderful time working with programs and services on this process. You all did a wonderful job. And I really enjoyed that evening in interviews. And I always love the opportunity to work with the council. I don't always get to do that. So I did appreciate this process, and I look forward hopefully to that opportunity, not too soon, but at some point in the future. I'll enjoy doing that with you all again.
Great. Thank you. And thank you very much for your work on this. I know how hard it was to get all the candidates, get them moved through the process. You've been fantastic through this. So really hope this goes smoothly and we have our new clerk starting soon.
Have a good night.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with that. And
Our final item of the evening is item 35-25. This is a discussion about possible responses to reduced federal funding for the Newton Public Schools. I believe we've been joined by two of our esteemed colleagues in city government, Dr. Anna Nolan, superintendent, and Mr. Liam Hurley, deputy superintendent, master of the universe, runner of the world, all things financial and operational for the Newton Public Schools. Did I get that title right?
100%.
Okay.
A little embellishment.
Thank you. So I'll turn it over to you guys. What do you want to tell us about what's going on?
Well, you told us to keep it Twitter short, so the money's going down and we have higher expenses. That's pretty much the crux of it. But I can share a 4-slide presentation with you, or I believe your moderator, Catherine, has the slides. So hi, Katie.
Katie, I'm happy to share it, or you can share it if you're able to.
I can share it.
Thanks.
Katie, if you don't mind going to the second slide. So the good news is that we anticipated a much worse story for this year. I think that's a good way to put it, right, Liam? But we are showing here for you the difference between FY22 and FY26 for our grant and METCO allocations. As you know, however, our contractual changes, of course, are more upwards in the 4% range, 4.25% range overall. So we have had to make cuts and reductions in all of these areas. The good news is for those grants that, except for IDEA, where we had personnel on the grants. We began 2 years ago to try to move as many staff off of those grants as possible, anticipating this decline. IDEA is just not something we can move staff off of. So, Liam, anything you wanted to add there?
Just looking at these grants, folks, so you can see from 22, if you add METCO, we had approximately $7.5 million. And 4 years later, about $8 million. So up about $500,000. What we use the term CAGR, which is compound annual growth rate. So these are, from our perspective, and we'll show in the second slide, these are not keeping pace really with what we've got. And we'll show that obviously just with our personnel costs. So even though they have gone up, they're very anemic and are not really keeping pace with what we've got. And the ones that we were concerned about last year were those Title II, III, and IV. They're listed, with the Roman numerals. It was a couple $100,000. It was very late in the budget season whether or not those were going to be restored. And I think there could even be some question possibly next year, will those be in that? And again, it wasn't millions of dollars, but it was several $100,000. And at this point, obviously every dollar counts. So Dr. Nolan, that's all I had to add to that slide.
If you don't mind, Katie, just heading to the next slide. Oop, back one. Slide 3 is a shorter chart than that. Right there. So this chart just shows the difference in salaries and health insurance costs over that same period of time. And so an almost 4%, so 3.95% budgeted salary increase and health insurance at 7.2%. So just wanted to make that aware of that. And then the last slide says what I just said out loud, which is salaries are outpacing those grant funds. So we do have to account for those in different areas. What those grants do not account for other major operating expenses like transportation, out of district tuition, utilities, all of those pieces. This is just personnel and benefit increases. I do want everyone just to recall, though, that after the override failed in FY24, NPS did reduce by 45 FTE, and we've continued to reduce the overall staff so that there's one educator reduced for every 22 students lost since 2019. That's a 1,000 student drop, and we have cut back the total overhead of those staff costs while trying not to add additional costs to grant funding, which we know is super volatile right now. Thanks for the chance to explain it.
So everything's great. That's what I'm hearing. Councilor Baker. You're still muted, sir.
There we go.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Superintendent and Mr. Hurley with many titles. I think that the question I wanted to make clear why I was part of the docketing of this item was I was concerned that the Department of Education was being hollowed out and that would its ability to assist the city would be severely compromised. It doesn't look like that is showing up yet, but what I'm worried about is, would you show me a different slide next year?
Yeah, it's possible. We did actually put full court press state advocacy for all the superintendents and our professional organization to capture the funds before the government shut down and before additional shenanigans, if you will, occurred with the Department of Education. So Massachusetts went very quickly. The Attorney General put the right legal challenges in place. So I'm as worried as you are for subsequent years, not sure where it's going to go. The way the new commissioner has billed it to us is that those monies had already been distributed to the state at the time of the change in the federal Department of Education. So it was easy to ensure that they were not clawed back. They were distributed very efficiently and quickly. That is our worry, that they'll be held hostage at the federal level with no one to actually distribute it in the manner to which we've become accustomed at the state level.
Or
but that's at least not this year.
But there's also impoundment, right? Those are sort of the concerns.
They're worried, yes. I mean, we thought we were heading towards impoundment this fall, and then
Right.
we dodged that.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sorry, when you say we in that last sentence, we meaning who?
We meaning the state superintendents in Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you.
And I apologize for jumping in there. Counselor Baker, were you all finished?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. And thank you, Dr. Nolan. Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Do appreciate that sobering view. I know I joke about everything being rosy. It's far from rosy. We have increasing costs and diminishing revenue. So to, I think, quote the Lego movie, everything is awful.
That
Okay,
was
it's a
awesome
paraphrase.
from that movie. Everything was awesome.
Oh, okay. Then it was a paraphrase. I apologize. I don't see any other hands up. I think this is a NAN.
Well, just briefly.
Yeah, Councilor.
I think to follow up on Councilor Baker's question, I think part of the thing though, when we were docketing this was like wondering if there were a catastrophic change in federal funding, like what's the first to go? Or is there any ability to like plug that gap? And I understand that's sort of an impossible question to answer in the sense that it might not be an across the board cut. It might be specific programs or something like that. But like, I think, you know, if there's I don't know, $10 million or something that suddenly is gone, what's the, you know, are we talking about mid-year layoffs or something like that?
I mean, I don't want to speak for you, Liam, but Liam and I worked together in a different district many years ago, and we weathered 9 C cuts each year, which usually came to us in January when there was a statewide budget slowdown. I anticipate that if the cuts were going to come, we would be told in like a mid-year framework, and then we would have to consider layoffs mid-year if they were personnel related expenses. Another worry, of course, that I always have is, you know, programs like the METCO program are not a required program by any stretch of the imagination, and but they are baked into the fabric of Metro West and Massachusetts as important programs. You know, under the current presidential administration, will those programs become under fire anyway, just for their mission and history? Or will those pieces not be funded through the state budget because the state budget will be strangled in other places? So I think it's going to depend on what the state prioritizes for funding, which they will have to see what the federal government will allow for funding. That's my understanding. Liam, did you have anything to add?
I think you've nailed it. I mean, so much of our costs are really personnel. So, you know, 87% of our costs are personnel. If there was anything major significant during the year, we'd really have to take a look at that. I think as you know, so much of our revenue really is dependent on the city funding. So there are other districts that have higher allocations and higher percentages of the funding is through both Chapter 70 and this grant funding. For us, it's actually is a smaller percentage compared to other districts, but any reductions we had, if there was a $10 million reduction, Councilor Humphries, that would, you know, if that was just for Newton, that would have a major impact. If that was statewide, that would certainly be spread out, you know, amongst everyone. That would not have significant consequences, but I would think it would be much larger than that. We really would have to be, you know, I hope we would get early notice, and we need to do planning and be prepared as much as we can, and then, you know, certainly be in communication with the you know, city leadership as well, and, you know, school committee, and thinking what we can do.
I think it's just important to note that these grants are specifically targeted towards vulnerable populations. So, you know, with the exception of the Perkins grant, which funds our career technical education equipment and aspects of that programming, which again is also important, and that does impact a certain sector that may be considered vulnerable. But it's, you know, Title III is ELL programming, you know, Title I is students, low-income students, METCO, students of color from Boston. So there's a lot of, I would say, an impact with bigger resonances, because those funds help us to make sure that those students aren't losing achievement and opportunity moments that they may not have otherwise.
Well, to that point, this is just, you know, a suggestion from someone who's not going to be in the office much longer, but whatever. if, because of what you say, right, that a lot of these programs are specifically helping some of the folks that need the most help,
Mhm.
if there were a really significant sudden cut, I would encourage us as a community, and I'm not just putting this on the school district, but all of Newton, to say we're going to rebalance things across the board rather than just saying this program is now gone, these personnel are now gone, and say we're going to cut dollars from every student essentially, and until we can at least balance out the thing so that it's not just decimating one particular program or department or something.
I would agree with that. I would also say too that it's confusing time for every state in this regard, that IDEA has not changed its legal requirements. So just because the funding goes away doesn't mean the obligation does.
Right.
So there are some protections there, but then you're in this terrible position of pitting general education versus special ed, or low income versus not low income. So I sincerely hope we're not in that situation. Of course, hope is not a strategy.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Humphrey. Thank you, Dr. Nolan. All right, seeing no other comments, I'm going to move NAN. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all those in favor of NAN, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, I believe that's 7-0. Thank you, Dr. Nolan.
Thank you. Good to
Really
see you
appreciate
all.
you being here. I believe that concludes our business for tonight. So again, my sincere apologies to Councilor Farrell. What happened? I thought our meetings were on the first. Our first meeting was on the 1st of this month, and so I'm actually in Washington D.C. And so I converted this to an all virtual meeting against my best wishes, because I know I wasn't going to be there in person, but I wanted to be there with you all this evening. So I hope you'll forgive me, but that's why we are remote tonight.
Thank you, Chair. But they need to learn to read more fully.
I'm still learning to read too. Don't feel bad. Okay, thank
We're
you all. Have a
all,
wonderful
we're all
night.
a work in progress, right?
Is it cold in the chamber there? You've got your jackets on.
Yes, it is cold.
Close the
Much
window. behind
warmer
you.
when you are all here.
Yeah, there's a window open though. You might, close the window. That would help.
Maybe Tariq left the window open.
Good boy. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.